We're going to start today with an artist named Chardin. Now, Chardin was a wonderful painter. His name is Jean-Baptiste Simon Chardin. And this painting in particular, what I love about it is how the background actually changes, and virtually you're not aware of where it changes. So literally, this is a background that supports this portrait of a young man drawing in a drawing class. By the background changing from light to dark as the background kind of supports the subject. So if the subject actually is darker, the background is lighter. And if the subject is lighter, like in the front and where the arms are and the face, it gets darker. It also gets cooler blue, and it's browner here, so you can actually change the color, and you're not aware of actually where that happens. There's no line that says that suddenly he changed colors. And that's what's great and masterful about Chardin, and that's what we're going to do with our background. I'm going to choose a background. Remember, I've asked you to think about what color you'd actually like to use for your background. And I'm going to use an opposite. So I'm looking at where there's a lot of oranges and a lot of pinks. I'm looking at a turquoise. So I'm going to use, I found some of these, and you may have found some more art supplies by the time you got to this point. But I found these really cool colored pencils that are loaded with really thick amounts of colored pencil inside them, and they're actually made of sticks. So I'm going to use this bigger stuff to just lay down some color. I'm going to put down a lot of color, and I'm going to do it in such a way that I'm going to scribble it. I'm going to scribble like this. I'm going to be very careful around my edges, and so I'm going to do it differently. I've been pretty much drawing my lines and shading lines on top of lines to create this pattern. Now I want to create something that's going to be more like a scribble. I could even use out here 2 colors at a time. I'm going to go up and around like a star, and I'm going to create thousands and thousands of lines. It's going to be made very, very differently than the portrait. I want to be really careful around my ear, around my face, and I'm really looking to see how this is going to change everything. How this is going to start supporting that. I'm going to be putting a whole lot more. This is just the start, and this is basically how I'm going to do my whole background. I don't want a line as to where it changes from one color to the next. It's going to be very dark right here. Actually, it'll be lighter around here and probably really dark around this face, and a whole lot lighter over here. It'll be dark. So since the light is on the side of the face here, actually, I should tell you that I'm going to plan to make this a lot darker. And on this side where it's darker in shadow, I'm going to make that a whole lot lighter. So that's going to probably end up being this color right here, and not a whole lot. So I want to really make some very interesting line patterns. This is called a scribble kind of mark, where you're going like a star. You know how to make a star, but you're doing it over and over again. And you're making it a lot smaller, and then you're just doing it in a kind of haphazard way. And very quickly you can establish a line pattern that kind of contrasts the line pattern that you have already. I'm doing that on purpose. Doing it everywhere. And I don't know if you can see up here in the corner, but doing that as well. Keeping a really tight pattern. Okay, so I have a background started, and I'm going to continue that. The other thing we want to do, so you want to keep going and make the whole background one solid color like Chardin did. It's going to be darker than the face. It's hard to see that now. I'll try to finish one area so you can see how dark this is going to be. As I continue to make more and more lines, I'm going to press down hard, and it's all going to look more like that, a whole lot darker. I'm going to add different greens to it and just build it up as much as I can. And I'll use darker greens, and I'll still keep with that same kind of haphazard line pattern. And probably do that. This will be a great therapy for me to be peaceful during these times of just developing something. So I'm going to really start to bring out this ear right here. I'm going to bring out the hair edge and just blend it to the point where you really can't see. So the background is a pretty important thing. I use some of that blue too, because it actually serves to support the subject, brings out the subject. So I'm going to bring out this ear right here, and this is where it really matters that you pay attention to your edges and you blend them as much as possible. So you're really getting all the specks. And now you can see a darkness. This whole thing will be like that. It'll take a while to do, but it's a fantastic kind of therapy to get into. So I'm going to leave that. And now let's talk about, I'm going to tilt down a little bit, the shirt. The actual shirt is going to be done the same way as the face. So because the shirt is actually moving forward, I don't want to do this kind of line pattern. So what I want to do is actually start to lay down a blue color over the whole shirt. I'll just do a certain part. I've already started to do it here. And I'm going to keep my lines close together. Just like that. This is kind of a navy blue, almost a purple violet. It's between a navy and a purple, I think. And I'll use some of this too. So basically, we will finish these in this class or in the next week or so, as it's going to take some time to build up all of these colors. Now this shirt is going to be a lot darker than the background, so it's kind of important to finish the shirt before you do the whole background, because it's going to be, my shirt, as you can see, is going to be a lot darker than my background, and I kind of want to keep with that theme. So I'm going to pretty much put a single coat over the whole painted shirt of this blue. The other thing I don't want to do is add more detail here than I do in the face. So I am going to back off, and I'm going to create a pattern, but I'm not going to try to create every nuance of detail in the shirt and get it more detailed than the face. That can be a pitfall when this is about a portrait and about bringing out your features of your face. Sometimes we bring out the shirt more and it becomes more of the interesting thing of the painting. It can be an interesting part, you know, of the portrait, because it is something that that I'm wearing actually, and I think that's important. You can change colors. So I'm quickly getting into covering most of that and going from one color to the next. Using the side of the pencil can get you to make the larger areas colored quicker. I'll bring it right out here. And I'll remove that tape and actually draw under that as well. When you work on an area, you want to remove this tape, work on it, and then retape it after it's done. Not untape them all, so that you'll have some stability and the paper won't be moving all over. So basically I have a flat wall, and so now what I'm going to do is create some dimension. I'll actually go back in and make some of these darker. As they come up through here. And paint in between. Going in an opposite direction. So I was going in this direction, now I'm going up and down. And just starting to kind of color in between. Don't worry about things like that, because you can always blend them if you make a mistake. Notice how I'm holding my pencil like that. That's to use the side of the pencil. And this is to use the tip of the pencil. This takes a whole lot longer to do it this way. Sometimes it looks more interesting, but you still have to have your lines on top of your lines. Can't go like this. You have to keep it right together very tightly so that it creates a real nice shading. It's the shading that's going to make your drawing and also make it very appealing for everyone to look at. So that's how you're going to do that. You're going to go back in and create maybe with a darker black. Be careful with that. And this darker blue to make it even darker near the edge where this rises. This is going to go lower and create a shadow there. Same with here. So I'm going to spend a long time on this background, making it interesting. I'm going to spend a long time finishing my shirt. And that's what I'd like to have you do in this next week or so. It's going to take a while to do that. I know that this is all very, very dark, so this is going to take a while. So I want you to spend some really good time on this. Spend some time, maybe a little bit every day until you finally get it done. And then I'll come back and show you what I did at the very end and how mine came out. And I'd love to see yours at the very end. So make sure that you friend me, like me, or send some comments my way. I'd love to see your work. If the work's not finished, you feel like you need some comments, and you have a way to send that photograph via email. My email is michael.vermette@iis.bie. I'd love to hear from you and see how you're doing and see if this lesson's helped you. I hope this has been a wonderful exercise, and I'll see you at the end of the week. And there is a lesson for you. Probably going to go back into the background, so see how this actually is starting to take on a pattern that's similar but not quite there. I'm going to go back in and keep building up until I get it to look really darker than the background. But first I want to do the background. It's kind of good to do the shirt. If your shirt is darker than the background, to do that first, to know where you're going to go with that to make that very dark. You can see since the last time I've done a little more on my face. I've done a little more shading here and there. And after this background's done, I may go back in and do a little more on the face, and then I will finish the shirt, and then it will be done. Up here we'll put our name. So it's Michael Ernest Vermette there, and then I'll put some sort of quote that I want to do. We'll do that together. So you don't have to go ahead and do that right now. Please don't do that, because I'm going to use a different medium that I'm sure you don't have. And if you do have it, I'd be really surprised, but it's a gold Sharpie. So a gold Sharpie can actually go on top of that, and in gold you can write your name and your quote. But there's a specific way I want to do that. So I'll see you next time.